Bryant was drafted 13th overall in the 1996 NBA draft by the Charlotte Hornets, but then was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers on draft night for Vlade Divac. The Lakers were trying to free up cap space in order to make an offer to free agent superstar big man Shaquille O'Neal, who they did end up getting. Kobe spent a majority of his rookie season coming off the bench, averaging 7.6 points, 1.9 rebounds, and 1.3 assists in just 15 minutes of play. Kobe worked himself into being an important rotation piece for a really good 56-win Lakers team, but in the playoffs,
Bryant drives, pull up, shot on the way, no good. Cross court left, open, Kobe Bryant for three, another air ball. So, up top for Eddie Jones, jumping up, won't go. Kobe Bryant for three, it's short again, air ball. Stockton, all over, 8 seconds, 7 seconds. There's a three-pointer, air ball again. From Kobe Bryant, another air ball.
Kobe would receive more minutes in his sophomore year, emerging as the sixth man on a dominant 61-win Lakers team. His performance apparently was good enough to make his first ever All-Star appearance, making him the youngest All-Star starter in NBA history. Kobe would become the Lakers starting guard in his third year in the league, where he'd put up really solid numbers. However, due to numerous coaching changes throughout the season and major trades to the team that just didn't work out, the Lakers never really hit their stride and ended up being bounced out in the second round by the eventual champion San Antonio Spurs. The Lakers hired legendary coach Phil Jackson in the offseason. Shaq had the best regular season he's ever had and won MVP. Kobe Bryant emerged as one of the best two-way players in the league, making both All-NBA and All-Defensive teams this year, and the Lakers ended up winning a by far league best 67 games. This season marked the start of one of the most dominant stretches in league history, as the Lakers would win 3 straight championships. By the end of the three-peat, Shaq established himself with the likes of these guys, and Kobe Bryant established himself as a bona fide superstar. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows.
Check it, you know how I be. Last week Kobe couldn't do without me. You know how I be. Last week Kobe couldn't do without me.
Yeah, it got bad. Chemistry issues between Shaq and Kobe became more apparent in the latter half of the three-peat. Shaq was coming to training camp out of shape, and specifically after the 2002 season, waited until the end of the season to get a toe surgery that would sideline him for the first 12 games of the season. The only thing is, he could have gotten this way earlier. But yet, despite these issues, Kobe Bryant would continue to have arguably the best regular season he's ever had, showing for the first time the range of what he can do as a leader of a team. This was really the year where the gap between Kobe and Shaq didn't become so clear-cut anymore, as despite Shaq playing the same amount of games as the year prior and putting up pretty similar stats, it was Kobe Bryant who finished third in MVP voting, ahead of Shaquille O'Neal. Now, you would think with the gap between Shaq and Kobe being this close that this would actually be the Lakers' best year, but no. Second round exits, because Tim Duncan is he's just that guy, pal. He's just that guy. Now, the 2004 season, horrible. Just horrible. With the addition of Gary Payton and Karl Malone to their already championship contending roster, the Lakers were officially touted as a super team. And the Lakers actually started off the season with an insane 21-3 start that no one really talks about. And rightfully so, honestly, because by the end of the season, the Lakers became the biggest mess in the league. And Kobe Bryant, yeah, Kobe was a mess this season. The Lakers did still win 56 games and still made the NBA Finals, where winning the championship was supposed to be a given at this point, given this weak-ass Pistons team.
The Detroit Pistons have just shocked the Los Angeles Lakers.
Okay, never mind. The Lakers would trade Shaq to Miami, Karl Malone retired, Gary Payton went to the Celtics, the Lakers didn't renew Phil Jackson's contract and almost lost Kobe Bryant in the process, but somehow, someway, still managed to get him to re-sign to a 7-year deal. And for the first time in his career, the Lakers were finally, undisputably, Kobe Bryant's team. After what transpired last season both on and off the court, his reputation was just straight tarnished, and it definitely didn't help that Phil Jackson came out with a book where he called Kobe Bryant uncoachable. The media was saying Kobe ran Shaq out of LA and how he couldn't win without Shaq, and it definitely didn't help at all. The Lakers couldn't even make the playoffs in his first year without Shaq. Phil Jackson would, however, come back in 2006, and Kobe would turn around his career after having one of the most historical carry jobs in league history. Look at the difference in their offense when Kobe was on the court versus when he was off the court. Absolutely insane. Now, despite Kobe's heroics, the 2006 and the 2007 season would end in the same way. Kobe would drag terrible teams to the playoffs, but would never really contend. The only thing that was different between those two seasons was that he ended the season in a different jersey number. At this point, the Doubters were winning. Maybe Kobe really was carried by Shaq. Maybe Kobe can't lead a team by himself. Maybe Kobe was just a ball hog. Maybe Kobe was the problem. By the trade deadline of next season, the Lakers already had the 4th best record in the Western Conference, with Kobe leading the charge. And on the trade deadline, the Lakers pulled off a blockbuster trade, acquiring star big man Pau Gasol for, frankly, a bag of chips. We finally get to see exactly what Kobe Bryant could do as a first option with competent help. And what happened? The Lakers finished with the best record in the Western Conference. Kobe would still continue to put up some really impressive numbers, and he would win his first and only MVP of his career. The Lakers then grinded through the grueling Western Conference to face the super team Big Three Boston Celtics in the finals. Now, Kobe and the Lakers were able to push the Celtics to 6 games, but it just wasn't enough. The Celtics were just too much, and the Los Angeles Lakers would walk away losing in the NBA Finals. But no fear though, the Lakers would build off of the season they just had and would win an astonishing 65 games in the 2009 season, a record that would have been the best in the league if 09 LeBron just didn't exist. And once the playoffs rolled around, with the Celtics not having Kevin Garnett due to injury, quite frankly, this was the Lakers' championship to lose. The Lakers would end up winning the NBA Finals in 5 games, and Kobe Bryant would get his first Finals MVP and first championship as the undisputed best player on his team, proving almost every single doubter he's ever had wrong. The question now being, can he do it again? And long story short, he did. Back-to-back championships, bitch. The next 2 years after the 2010 season were comprised of seasons where the Lakers were really solid regular season teams, but just flat out got outplayed in the playoffs. It became very apparent that a core of Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, and Andrew Bynum just weren't enough to win a championship. So in the 2012 offseason, the Lakers acquired superstar big man Dwight Howard and all-star point guard Steve Nash to form the Western Conference's answer for the Big Three in Miami. The 2013 season was supposed to be a battle of the Titans. LeBron James versus Kobe Bryant. East versus West, Miami versus LA. But what actually transpired was one of the most hectic seasons of Kobe's career. Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, and Pau Gasol missed too many games for their starting 5 to have any sort of chemistry, and with 1 month left to the season, the Lakers were just a mere 8th seed, on the brink of not even making the playoffs. The only reason they didn't miss the playoffs was because Kobe said, yo, if I need to carry, then I guess my 34-year-old will have to carry. But after a 6-game stretch of playing on average 46 minutes a game, 45 minutes into a game against Golden State,
as he has it, spinning, in trouble. Oh, and he's limping, he's hurting. Kobe's hurting. And I don't know if he's going to be able to continue.
This injury right here would forever change Kobe's career and, quite frankly, prematurely ended it. Due to trying to recover from this injury and other injuries he would suffer in the following seasons, Kobe Bryant would only play a combined 41 games throughout the next 2 seasons, and when he did play was clearly a shell of what he was. And so in 2016, he decided he would have one last hurrah and do a farewell tour around the NBA, where he would drop 60 points in his very last game, giving the Los Angeles Lakers, the NBA, and the sports world as a whole a fitting end to one of the greatest careers in sports history. And that was the career of the great Kobe Bryant. Rest in paradise, Mamba. If you haven't already watched this video right here where I summed up LeBron James's career like I did in this video, but with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'm out, man. Peace.